top 5 defenders for this upcoming year, because that has been where the focus of the second half of the portal has been. It's been on the defense. So I guess we can go 5-1. Donovan, you want to start with your number 5?
My number 5 is going to surprise a lot of y'all, and I completely understand why, but I'm saying my number 5 for most impact, I'm just going off of impact.
Sure.
First and foremost, is going to be Ty Morris, the Rice transfer, who was an All-American selection last year. And I say that because the linebacker room, going from Daryl Jabome and previously before that, Mohamed Toure, it's in a really good spot right now being able to get Ty Morris. You're keeping that same level of excellence in the linebacking room, that same level of veteranship, leadership, and just overall character and knowledge of the game. Ty Morris was one of the better, I would say, thinking linebackers, more intelligent linebackers. He was able to diagnose plays at a better rate than a lot of players that I would arguably say on Rutgers this year. And that's why I have him at number 5, because he's going to be a star for this Rutgers team regardless, and he's going to just be there to be that placeholder for Rutgers as a star linebacker. There isn't going to be as much change with his arrival. So that's why I can say as it was a lateral move for Rutgers, but it has a lot of upside if he's able to match what he just did last year at Rice in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, Jabome is one of the few players that individually had a good season on defense. And I think that Morris coming in, like you said, it's a lateral move. It's kind of a perfect fit, like a shoe-in fit almost. And I have Morris on my list, not at number 5, though. My number 5 is actually, this might surprise you, might not. I have Kevin Humes on my number 5. I think that he's going to be CB2 next year, coming in from Maryland. I believe he committed to Boston College and then decommitted once Lonergan landed here. So they clearly have a good working relationship, which isn't necessary, but it's a plus. And he's going to be a junior next year, 6 feet, 185 pounds. He had 16 tackles. He only had 1 pass deflection, but he was in the Big Ten, the all Big Ten team in week 4. So, and that's when he had half of his tackles. He did kind of fluctuate within the system, but he had very bright moments. He's a Big Ten talent, stays in the Big Ten. I think he's going to have probably about like a B+ kind of year in terms of what you expect from a CB2 in the Big Ten. You have a number 5, Mr. Lamparello.
Yeah. For my number 5, I'm going to go with the defensive tackle from Appalachian State, Rondo Porter.
Okay. I have him on the list too.
Started out at South Carolina, and I think he can be potentially an impact player.
Yeah, for sure. I think he'll be higher than 5 in my opinion.
Definitely higher than 5 on mine.
But he's number.
Yeah, not everybody can be right.
Yeah, at least we're all in the same ballpark when it comes to the players. That's all that matters.
Exactly. I think, honestly, we had some great transfers, but we kind of had some limited options with the transfers. And I think for whatever reason, we waited a little long on the defensive side of the football. I'm glad that we got some good offensive talent. We got a replacement in Thevenin for CJ Campbell, which ultimately we didn't really have last year. We got Lonergan, another year of Serace, but the defense waited a little long. But I'll go for number 4, actually, real quick. My number 4 is going to be Ty Morris, only because it's a perfect shoe-in fit for Jabome. And Jabome was probably like around that 3rd or 4th best player defensively for us, maybe top 3. My only reason for not having him higher on the list is just because he played in a weaker conference. So I don't think he replicates those numbers. I do think he'll be linebacker 1, and we only play 1 middle linebacker.
No, we play 2. It's 4-2-5.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
You saw Bear because primarily when teams don't know how to stop the run, they just put another D lineman in there. But Rutgers base defense, which I like the 2 hires as well because they both are well versed in 4-2-5 defensive formations. So that's another plus, Adam.
So are we going to stay with the 4-2-5, you think, next year?
Yeah, 100%. The reason why they got these type of players is to fill that scheme.
Okay.
For example, what my number 4, Kyle Sanders, he's going to be most likely that he's going to be strong safety 1 or free safety 1 because you can put him at either in the box or in coverage. I don't see him primarily going to be that coverage guy because he works well as a Swiss Army knife. For seeing more and more, I would say Kyle Hamilton-esque type players, Nick Imanwari type of players that aren't fast enough and light enough to still defend the pass, but aren't afraid to come down and get their nose dirty and fill up for the run. And Kyle Sanders is going to be, as we said before, Joe Woodley's first safety experiment at Rutgers, and he has a good one. Seeing that last year he had 2 tackles that were north of 70 tackles in total for the season, and one of them had 4 pass deflections or pass breakups. Kyle Sanders comes into the season having 65 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and I'm really excited to see what Woodley can do to expand his game. I want to be able to see him be able to fly sideline to sideline, have north of 80 tackles, because if he's getting 70 out of FCS players, I expect him to get 80 out of a Big Ten player. Way different levels of talent here, and that's why the scheme that he's going to bring in, I'm expecting Kyle Sanders to be the star point of that secondary to pair up alongside a cornerback duo of Cam Miller, Samir Dawood, and Hughes, just like you said, Gabe. So that's why I got him at number 4, because if things go right with Woodley, there's a potential where Kyle Sanders at the end of this season could be an all Big Ten player.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cam Miller is. I think he declared though. I don't think he's coming back. He was a senior, but everything else I 100% agree with. And Josh Sanders is going to be probably the best returning player on defense, at least for next year. I'm a big Wadiq Collier guy. I don't think Wadiq is going to be playing that much though next year. Adam, who's your numero cuatro?
My numero cuatro is someone from the University of Toledo, edge rusher Malachi Davis.
Yeah, I had Davis as my number 4, but I actually moved him up a spot for.
Yeah, I keep going back to that defensive line. I think these guys do have upside to them that could lead to an improved defense. So, I'm going to have him at number 4.
Gotcha. All right. Number 3, let's start off with the Gibmeister himself.
For number 3,
yes, sir.
I got Adam mentioned him slightly, so I can go a little bit further, and that's Rondo Porter, primarily because 12.4% pass rush win rate, which is top 40% of all defensive tackles in FBS. For the people that are just trying to envision that, there's 413 current D tackles that play in FBS. Rondo Porter is the more of that above average to potential upper echelon, depending on what system he's put in, and especially a D tackle at 6 foot, 295 pounds, being able to get to the quarterback that effectively, especially at that size against bigger offensive linemen, is a great plus and a great addition to have. 27 pressures last year at Appalachian State, which would be more than triple the individual output of any Rutgers interior rotational player this year and for this upcoming season. And for a fun fact, he's the last D tackle with 20 plus pressures in a season since 7th round pick Keontae Hamilton. So being able to get a guy that is able to be a game wrecker on the defensive end, especially in that defensive line, he's most likely going to be playing a 1 tech, or I could see if they want to move him out to a 3, but he's most likely going to be playing that 1 tech in this defensive scheme. I'm going to wonder how well he bolts up against interior tackles in the interior offensive linemen in the Big Ten, because they're huge. But if he's able to do what he just did at Appalachian State or somewhat similar and still be able to win his pass rush reps, he has the potential to be a game wrecker on this defense.
Yeah, for sure. I got him even higher than 3. My number 3 is Malachi Davis. Adam just mentioned, going to be a senior next year. He is 6'4", 255, so I imagine him on the outside. But I like his numbers in terms of total tackles too. 35 coming off of 20 the year before, 19 solo from 6 the year before, 5.5 sacks from 2 the year before, and he got a forced fumble. I think that he is probably the most, I would say, room for like a error in terms of predicting his stats, because he's either just going to be too small for the Big Ten, or he's going to be too quick for the outside tackles to get to. So I think his speed is where he's going to be a benefactor in this defense, and I look forward to it. So on to number 2. I'll go with my number 2 first. I actually, I'm surprised this is going to be his first time mentioned. I guess we all have him very high on the list. I'm going with Zamir Dawood from Villanova.
Wow.
My number 2 impact player, CB1 in my estimation. Could be wrong, but I think he'll be CB1. Villanova was one of the better schools. Not sure what happened there. One of the better schools. I don't know if Adam Lamparello had some mischief going on there, but it's gonna be one of the. They were one of the better schools in FCS, and Zamir Dawood was a big reason why. He did get a little exposed in the playoffs for one game against probably one of the best wide receivers in FCS. But overall, I think Dawood is a really good shutdown corner, and he could be as good this year as, say, Bo Masco. I expect him to be around that Bo Masco, Cam Miller tier, maybe even slightly better. I think as the season goes on, he'll get better and better each game. But thankfully, it's good that we have non-conference games to start off the year, so he has his room for fluctuation before really locking in.
For my number 2, I just wanted to say we basically got ours into just switched up. I have Malachi Davis at 2 because, just as you said before, Gabe. Oh, my apologies, Adam. I definitely cut you off there. My bad.
All good, my friend.
No, get yours off because I can wait on.
No, go ahead. You can continue.
I got Davis at number 2 because you mentioned his size and what he was able to do in terms of total tackles, which would be top 3 for defensive linemen in Rutgers. He would be first in sacks last season and second in tackle for losses, just behind Eric O'Neal's 16. And I just want to add 255 pounds going into this season. I can see him going up a couple of pounds and potentially be playing at 265 or I would say 260, which could help beef up against the run as well. He had an 81.3 defensive PFF grade, which would have led Rutgers entirely last year. And just as I said about Rondo Porter, 17.1 pass rush win rate. And he was a primary leader to lead Toledo to having one of the higher sack rates or higher rates to getting a sack per game in the country. Toledo finished at 9.1%, which was top 10 in the nation. Rutgers in that same category was 131st. And another fun fact, UMass was 117th. So UMass was able to get more pressure on the QB than Rutgers were last season, and that's why I think Malachi Davis is going to come in and change that. And if he's able to do that, being able to have Rondo at that 1 tech and then have Davis at that 5 is going to be a good duo for Rutgers to pair up with other big name pass rushers in pass rushing combos in the Big Time.
So you're saying that there's a chance that UMass could get more pressure week 1 than us? Freaking Harizmi.
From last season, yeah. I'm just saying based off of 25-26, which I looked up and I was just surprised because how are you getting to the quarterback so well and you didn't win a game?
Yeah, fair point. Adam, number 2.
Number 2, I've got to agree with Gabe on this, although I think we're all kind of have the same players. Pennsylvania has some good things about it. Pennsylvania has Philadelphia. It has Pittsburgh. Many problems in between those two cities, except for the Little League World Series and maybe that school in Happy Valley. But it also has a great school in Villanova. And Villanova is a very, very good football program. And I think Zamir Dawood is going to be a major contributor in the secondary next year. And I think will be an upgrade and contribute to what I hope will be an improved Rutgers defense.
And by the way, to everyone wondering, Villanova is not a Philadelphia school.
No, it's not.
It is a greater Philadelphia school, greater Philadelphia area, but it's not Philadelphia. It's
the Philadelphia school is Temple.
Correct. Drexel, UPenn, all Philadelphia. But Villanova, just outside of Conshohocken, very nice city, and it is sort of wedged in between there. I guess we're on to number one now, and I'm going to say the name that both of you have already said. And my number one is Rondo Porter. I think, oh my goodness, what a unit. And I say that with all sort of respect, but 6 foot, 295. He is the beef that we were missing last year. He got 43 I almost said 43 sacks, imagine. 43 tackles as an interior defensive lineman.
That's impressive.
That's insane. And that means that, guess what? Most of those were rushes. And, we sort of struggled against the pass, but we struggled against the rush.
No, Gabe, let me pick up what you're putting down right there. It's not just that it was rushes. It's the fact that he was playing up against double teams. He can beat doubles.
Yep.
That's a major thing that he's bringing to the table as well that I forgot to add. Continue.
No doubt motivated by his late head coach, who unfortunately passed away. And I'm sure he plays every week for him. 25 assisted tackles, 18 solo, 4 pass deflections. Again, impressive as shit. I don't curse often on this show. Forgive me. But seriously, this guy is super impressive, and he is who I am most excited to have on the Rutgers defense from returning players or transfers. And I think he could be all Big Ten next year when it's said and done.
You go, because I want to say my number one, because I have full breakdown I got to do. I don't want to take up no time.
Hell yeah.
Well, my number one, I'll tell you something. My best friend, we met when we pledged the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity at USC in 1993.
Pike.
Yeah, I was a Pike at USC in 1993, and we're still great friends to this day. What a great man from the great state of Texas. Texas, yes. I've been to Dallas, been to Austin, been to Houston, been to San Antonio. A lot of good players there in the state of Texas. And one of those great players comes from Rice University, and his name is Ty Morris, who had a great year last year, and I think is really going to be a strong contributor in that linebacking core, which we sorely need. So Ty Morris is my number one.
Number one is you two have previously mentioned, and I have him at number one primarily because if he plays well, that is the difference between Rutgers.
I agree. Biggest X factor. I know
5 to 6 win team to an 8 and 9 win team. As you just saw in the national championship, those were the 2 best DB units in the country. Arguably, hands down, Indiana number 1, Miami number 2, because Miami just gets more penalties. Getting a guy in Zamir Dawood, who was arguably one of the best DBs in FCS last season, and you could say top 20 DBs in FCS over the last 2 years as well. And he only let up 1 touchdown, and that 1 touchdown was against Daniel Sopkowitz of Illinois State. Yeah. And that's where I'm nervous about when it comes to him. If he's able to get that game out of his head and go into Big Ten play where he's going to face guys at the same size, potentially the same speed as Daniel Sopkowitz, because Sopkowitz is 6'4", and he can run a 4.45. That's Big Ten.
Yeah.
He's going to experience that. If he's able to move past that and learn from how to beat those type of players, Rutgers got themselves a star corner.
For sure.
I didn't even get into the numbers. He's going to most likely be DB1, like you said, Gabe. And he would have been first on the team last year. Interceptions, pass breakups with 11 of them as a corner. Wow. And he would have been first in yards allowed per coverage snap, which was 0.68, 8th in the CAA in general. 45.8 completion % rate allowed, the lowest for a Rutgers DB since 2022's Christian Braswell. And he's able to take a side of the field away from QBs. QBs going into that prep week are going to have his name circled. So being able to have a player of that stature and if he's able to play as elite as he did last season and able to step up from it, Rutgers might have themselves a award finalist for best DB in the country. I wholeheartedly believe that.
I hope you're right. And if you are, Adam, we have a new Cam Miller to be talking about every week, because we were talking about Cam Miller like he was Darrelle Revis going into.
Well, it's funny because I want to remind everyone of something, and we see our good friend John Diadamo in the chat. John and TJ host the fantastic Michigan Wolverines show, weekly shows, and during the season, just done a great job. But it also reminds us that Michigan and Bryce Underwood will be coming to SHI Stadium next year, as will, Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans, and Kurt Cignetti and the defending national champion Indiana Hoosiers. My point being this: I do think some of the transfers will add value and be assets to the defense. But for us to be competitive in the Big Ten, we need more of them, and I don't think we're there yet. And we're going to have to get more 4 stars. We're going to have to compete for 5 stars. We're going to have the NIL to do that, because if we're going to stay in the Big Ten, we're going to have to compete with the Bryce Underwoods, the Jaden Mayavas, the Penn States, the
Denzel Williams.
Yeah.
Williams.
Yeah.
I mixed them both up.
The Texas Tech quarterback who just went to Indy.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of.
So my point being.
Oh, Bear Morton?
Yes.
So my point is this progress? Yes. But it needs to be sustainable progress year after year if we're going to be competitive.
Not Texas Tech. I think it was the TCU quarterback that went to Indy.
Oh, you're talking about Josh Hoover.
Who? Josh Hoover, yeah.
Josh Hoover.
And by the way, speaking of TCU, Sonny Dykes has some nerve going to a national championship and losing 65-7. He should be ashamed.
Yes, indeed. So, Adam, you said Ty Morris, your number 1 guy. Do you think he'll be better, as good, or worse than Jabome was the past 2 years?
I was not, and maybe I'm wrong, I was not thoroughly impressed with Jabome. I thought that he was terrible in passing situations. I expected more from him. I think he will be an upgrade from Jabome, and I'm surprised I'm saying that, but that's what I think. Yeah, Jason, next season's going to be fun. And I graduated from USC in 1997. So when USC comes to SHI Stadium, you're going to see what's called a split personality. Half of me will be painted in Rutgers colors, the other half in USC colors. And who knows if I'll make it out of the stadium alive. But I better get that sangria that I didn't get last time because of that ridiculous rule that they didn't take cash. I'm just telling you. I tell you.
Based on how we played last year, and I hope there's no indication of last year into this year, but if based on how we played last year happens to linger on over, that means you should put on your Rutgers shirt in the first half, and then as soon as we start losing, switch on over, because we have good first halves and terrible second halves.
Listen, I'm getting a press pass for next year. You know what that means? I get to ask Coach Giano questions.
Yeah, I think we're.
Also, if you're doing that, you can't cheer if you're going to be in the press section. I was taught this, that you got to keep it completely unbiased. If you start cheering or anything, they'll kick you out.
Well, I'm going to demand a private discussion with Coach Giano when I get my press pass.
I'm pretty sure if you're just supposed to be courteous, you're supposed to be professional.
Yeah. Professional, yes, professional, unbiased.
You can't make no noises.
I wouldn't say unbiased because I've heard a lot of commentary where they're certainly biased. If you look at all the play-by-play commentators and the color commentators of, like, say, Big Four professional sports.
Listen, all you guys got to know is look at me as the next Kirk Herbstreit.
Not the worst Kirk you could be. Okay, so going back to the top 5 defenders from
what a dumb
that's going to pick up on it. Going back to rest in peace, obviously, but going back to the top 5 defenders list going into next year, looks like we all shared 4 of the 5 in the top 5, which were Rondo Porter, Ty Morris, Zamir Dawood, and Malachi Davis, right?
Yes, but you guys are missing someone. You're missing someone.
Who?
Do you know who you're missing? I'll tell you. To ease the suspense, you know, a few years ago, I had a job interview for a faculty position at the University of Maine, and I asked the dean of the law school. I said, when I come up there for the interview, can we have a lobster roll? And he said, oh yes, absolutely. He said the lobster rolls are delicious here. I said, but I prefer them hot, not cold. He said, well, you're going to have them cold because they're better that way. And you know what? They were. And in the state of Maine, there's also someone called Jaden Lee, a 6 foot.
Oh, you know what? Good shout out.
310-pound interior defensive lineman, where he had 32 tackles last year and 3.5 tackles for loss. A sleeper candidate for someone who's going to make a big impact at Rutgers.
Great shout. I think that went over all of our heads until now. So
definitely went over my head, but you're completely right, especially on a main team that did show another CAA school as well. So it's not that they're getting guys from lower tier FCS programs. They're getting guys from best of the best.
Yeah. And you know what? Was it him or was it Dawood who was the first to commit from the portal? It might have been late. It was Dawood? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of them. And so real quick, who were all of our fifth guys? Mine was Kevin Humes from Maryland.
My fifth was Ty Morris.
I think we said Ty Morris, Rondo, Zamir, and Malachi Davis.
My five was Morris, Sanders, Porter, Davis. Okay. Yeah, Sanders is my returning piece.
Porter was my fifth, but we're also missing one other person. And you know what? I have to tell you, I respect our military. I respect those who go to battle for us, whether it's in World War I, the Korean War, World War II, Vietnam, Iraq #1, Iraq #2. You got to respect our military people. And, the Citadel is a place that really educates some great folks in the military. And there's a guy at the Citadel named Bradley Jones, a pretty impressive track star who's coming in as a quarterback who could hopefully, add depth to that quarterback room and make an impact. So we've got the five. We've all talked about the five best, but there are those who are beyond the five that could really contribute in a way that could make this defense more effective than it was last year.
Yes. That's another good shout. I'm happy with Bradley Jones, especially because he will be CB3 or 4. And I like his game, but I was not sold on him being a starting corner. At least
so you see him most likely playing that slot because right now, just as you said, Dawood is going to be on one end, Humes on the other.
Slot or insurance. I think
I'm going to salute Bradley Jones at the games.
I think the salute.
Be all you can be.
Are you a veteran?
I'm 50 years old. I'm not a veteran yet, if that's what you're implying.
I think if you're what they call a NVRP, a non-veteran regular person, a little play on NARP, I think you got to salute by doing that.
Let me tell you something. When I was 10 years old, I wrote to the Marines and I said, I want to join the Marines. Tell me where to sign up. And somebody from the Marines wrote back to me with a beautiful patch that I put on my jacket and said, we're thrilled that you're interested in joining the Marines because I wanted to be one of the few, the proud. But he said, since you're only 10, you can't join. I was disappointed. I thought I had something to contribute.
Yeah, and then you realized that fighting for clients was the way.
Then I met a girl at 12 years old. We went to the junior prom, and I said, you know what? Maybe this is a better path for me.
Man, it's something about those women starts young, huh?
Oh, yeah. Also, we forgot to mention, shout out Jadon Burt. He had 6 sacks last year as well.
Yeah, the guys that we didn't mention, it doesn't mean they're trash. It doesn't mean they're going to be the fifth men. It's just who we see as the 5 most impactful. And I imagine next week we'll be doing 5 most impactful on offense. And that could get a little more controversial. There's a lot more wiggle room on the offense.